Go to Gina. Go to Gina. Go to, open the window.
Okay.
Go here.
Hey, Kelly, we can still hear you.
Okay. I
So
didn't say anything bad right here.
yeah, so this is a Finance Committee meeting, November 13th. It's 3:32. We have two topics we're going to deal with today. One is direct deposit, and the second is our software for both accounting and payroll. I mailed out to all of you in advance some sheets. I've been reaching out to some of our neighboring communities. I've talked to Fairfax, Newtown, Terrace Park, Columbia Township, Amberley, and Milford about both of these topics. And so I shared with you that on the top of that one sheet, I just have who the contact was, and all of these communities offer direct deposit. It shows what bank they use and what accounting software they use. We had a meeting yesterday with PNC, and we got more information from them about what the cost would be to do direct deposit. Oh, we can see you, Kelly.
Yay! I'm hanging up on you now.
Okay, well then you need to unmute your laptop. Perfect. Thanks, Gordon. Okay, so keeping going here. So based on the numbers that Joni helped provide, the number of paychecks that we do in each one of these areas and the ones that are biweekly versus monthly. And then we had the cost data that PNC provided to us. And previously, Sue had looked up that the cost for checks was 14 cents per check. So putting all these numbers together, for an annual basis, it looks like it's about $463 if we implemented direct deposit and everyone continued to pick up their check at the village office. We didn't mail any checks out. So any questions about that part of it?
Hey, Rob, just real fast, the 14 cents a check, is that just PNC's charge?
No, so again, we looked at this about a year or so ago, and Sue at the time, and this is in the committee report that was written up previously, Sue went and looked up what the cost is. So it's not PNC, it's what, I think we buy ours separately from them.
Okay, so it's to buy the check stock.
Correct.
All right.
Yep.
Does PNC charge us anything
For
for processing it? Do we get any bank fees from PNC at all?
Yeah, there are some bank fees on the accounts, but it's not on a per check basis. It's on the sort of the balance type of thing. We have a multiple accounts there, Joe. We have a general account, we have a payroll account, we have a sweep account.
Mayor's Court.
And well, yeah, Mayor's Court account. Thank you, Eli.
Okay, but we're not aware that they're charging us anything for manual checks at this point.
No.
I don't know that the bank or the payroll account even has any fees with it. I can't remember. I don't think it does.
Okay.
So it's just it's a pass-through account. The payroll account's a pass-through account.
Yeah.
So one quick question. If we go to direct deposit, does that make the reconciliation process easier? I mean,
yes, it would make it a lot easier.
okay. So there's a cost savings on that end. In theory, because Tony, do you do the reconciliation or does Eli on the bank?
I do the payroll one.
Okay. So we'll find something else for you to do. So there'll be a cost savings there, right?
Yeah, instead of having to reconcile all these checks, it's just be one big chunk of money that comes through. So,
And I'm assuming on a sheet procedures, that becomes PNC's responsibility instead of ours. People don't cash their checks.
I don't know if that's still ours or them. Well, the thing is, there wouldn't be any uncashed checks now because it's being direct deposited, so there wouldn't be any standing, you know.
So we don't have to worry about that. I mean, I don't know if you ever do anything with uncashed checks. I know that the corporations have to deal with it all the time. I'm not sure we have that big a problem, but it's out there. So, all right.
Okay. Any other parts around direct deposit that people have questions about?
Covered a lot yesterday, so.
Okay. So then, as I said, the second sheet that I sent to you guys, this one, the Word document that has, again, across the top half has each of the communities. And again, all of them are using direct deposit currently. And 3 of them are using PNC, which is who we use also. Fairfax, Columbia Township, and Amberley Village. And everyone except for Milford also uses UAN. And every one of them have said that it's very simple for them to direct deposit because nothing gets rekeyed. It's just, they take a report from UAN, they create a file from that report, they log into PNC and they just upload the file, and that has all the information to go ahead and just process all the ACH transfers to move the money to the employees. It's the net amount. It's the final amount that goes up, not with all the withholding and everything else is still held down in the payroll system. This is just the net amount that goes deposited to the account that gets uploaded. So again, everyone has said it was very easy. I emailed to all of you as well the email responses that I got from all of them, so you can see the verbatims that they provided. And all of them also found UAN to be a very easy system to use, to work within. So the bottom half then, Eli and I work together. Eli has been.
Hey, Rob, quick question on the direct deposit. What happens if an employee doesn't have a checking account or a bank account to send it to? Because we got, the pool employees that I'd say probably more than half of them don't have a checking account.
Yeah, so there are some people who, like in Milford, they grandfather 2 people who they still do checks for, so you can still do checks. But again, the goal is to move as many people as possible to direct deposit, but you can still print a check if you need to.
Okay, still do manual checks if we need to, is what I'm
Yes.
hearing. Okay,
Yeah.
because I would assume that probably half the pool employees don't have bank accounts.
Right, I agree with you. That could be very, very real possibility. So,
Okay.
any other questions about that part of it then? No, okay.
A lot about the Paycor. How much would the software piece be for the payroll part under UAN if we go that route?
It's all included in there, Tony. So the costs that are at the bottom of that first page is both the payroll and accounting.
Okay. I was just wondering if there's any savings there if we just use the Paycor, like you enter the information in and then Paycor sucks the money out of your account and it's done.
Yeah. So if we did Paycor, it would be an incremental cost then on top.
It would go up then. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
We had Paycor in a couple years ago to do a demo and price that out for us. Do you remember that?
I remember.
Yeah, vaguely.
Kristen came in. I wanted to say it was like $12,000 a year, and they could pin the price for the first 2 years, and after that, it was going to go up 3% every year.
Okay.
For a third-party provider. ADP is more expensive. Apparently, there are like local firms, maybe even local CPA firms that could do payroll for you. We could have Kristen come back in if you want to look at that again, but that's baked into the cost of UAN.
Yeah, if it's in the UAN and it's all together, then I say we just go with the UAN if we go that route.
Yep. Okay. Any other questions on that before we get down to the bottom half of the page then? So the bottom half of the page, as I mentioned, is information that Eli's been getting updated quotes from CMI for and other providers, because it's not just all CMI costs here. So again, there's 3 scenarios. One is we stay on CMI and we have it on our new server, our own server. The first year cost for that is $108,778, and the 5-year cost, because again, some of those are one-time costs, so that's why we did the 5-year cost also, is $186,734. And to be fair here, that last row cost, the ongoing server maintenance support, that's an estimate. So that was based on Eli got an estimate back in 2011 that was $750 a month, and so I think this is probably low, to be very honest with you. I think it could be higher than that because that's almost 10 years ago. But it's a ballpark estimate. We will put it in there just to have that. To the right then of that is the cost of renting the server on an ongoing basis. And again, the first year cost is less because there's not all the upfront. There's not as much cost for the service and maintenance because it's embedded in the ongoing cost, $86,286. And then the 5-year cost is $175,727. So those are the 2 CMI scenarios: stay on our own server, rent a server, and then below that is the cost to if we went to UAN, the annual cost here is includes, again, it's both the accounting software and the payroll software. And included in that is also the cost for the hardware that they provide. They provide a printer and a computer, and they update those every 3 years. They upgrade them and they maintain them as well. So that's all embedded in that cost. For the first 3 years, we would need to continue to maintain the CMI data to have access to it. So for those first 3 years, there's an additional cost of $3,156. So first year cost $7,116, a 5-year cost of $29,268. And
Rob,
yeah,
Rob, let me ask you a quick question. Any sense of why it's so inexpensive for UAN?
well, it's because, again, they do this, 70% of the villages in Ohio do this. This is, the Ohio auditor actually creates the UAN system.
Okay.
And so for them, they do it for Ohio. They get scale benefits also from the audit side of things. So because it's so much easier, they create the system. It's easier for them to audit the system then. So I'm guessing that's part of why they can keep the cost lower. But again, 70% of villages throughout the state of Ohio use this system. Whereas
what are the other 30% using? Are they on CMI or other stuff?
No, well, I think Eli, you checked around. The only other CMI user that Eli could find was Indian Hill.
Okay.
And so like Milford uses SSI. Those are systems that are more for cities, and because Milford's a city, it's large enough to be classified as a city. So they use the more robust systems. Eli, do you have anything else to add to that?
No, all the little people I called used UAN. People like Sharonville, I think Montgomery even, and Milford used SSI. Big entities used a heavier hitter software. And then Indian Hill used the same version of CMI that we do, which is maybe from 1990 something. And they also were contemplating what they were going to do going forward because the upgrade was so expensive.
Okay, so is that the answer, that this upgrade is more expensive than what it used to be for this thing? Because
Yes,
these numbers
Civica
are
got
so
bought.
drastic. Yeah, so these numbers were so drastically different. I'm just questioning, are we comparing apples and apples in this process?
No, CMI is like an enterprise level heavy hitter piece of accounting software. So it's much more robust and much more capable than we need and than we use it for. Additionally, when we first provisioned this software, it was probably pretty affordable because it was written by some guys in Ohio for entities in Ohio. Since then, that company has been iteratively purchased by various other big companies, and now it's owned under this umbrella of Civica, which is like a privately held, venture capitalist owned software consortium. So I'm sure CMI was probably quite affordable way back when, but once they got bought by this intermediary and then brought by Civica and then brought under this umbrella, their costs have skyrocketed.
And also, Joe, one of the reasons that upgrade is so expensive is because we're so far behind. We're on a version that is, I don't know, Eli, how many, I mean, it's like decades old.
The version right before this was DOS based.
That gives some perspective.
We had an upgrade back, probably 8 years ago, 9 years ago.
Wait, can you say louder, Joni?
We had an upgrade about 8 or 9 years ago.
Okay.
From the DOS based one to this one?
Yes.
But this one was not modern then. We sort of did the same thing 8 or 9 years ago. We like dragged our feet and used the super ancient 90s version and then upgraded to this one because I believe the authority product that they want us to upgrade to was in fact available even then. And we chose to upgrade below current.
I'm not recalling that, but okay.
I don't either.
I wasn't here.
I
Yeah.
don't remember.
So that's what I understand. Because the one that we're looking to upgrade to is itself very old.
Oh, wow.
So the one that we're going to upgrade to, that's $62,000 to do this up, the one time cost, the
I
CMI cost?
want to say it was written in 2011, but it might be slightly more recent. It might have been 2013.
Okay. Again, my question just gets to, there's such a drastic cost difference here. What are we missing in the equation? But it sounds like CMI may be an extremely robust process, or that, because this is going to lead into another question I've got, is about budgeting and report features and data downloads. Because I think, what I've seen people try to get off of our current system seems to be fairly difficult to get information out of it. And I'm not sure what UAN can do to help us potentially improve in that area.
I had a discussion with the guy at UAN yesterday specifically about what we could export. And his response was, our reports are so comprehensive, you don't need to export. And he sent me some old examples of reports from 2014. They weren't any more comprehensive than what we can get canned out of CMI. Frankly, it was just skewed towards what a municipal user might ask for in a way that CMI isn't, right? CMI was built around more corporate accounting. So its canned reports aren't so much about forecasting, and we also don't use that budgeting module. So I didn't really see that UAN was all that much better for reporting, but they also kind of keep it under wraps, and we'd have to watch a goodly hours of videos to see exactly what we can do, because they won't let you attend the training or see any further examples of, for example, like this Excel mapping worksheet that I wanted to see until you sign up.
Yeah, I'll verify that.
And again, Joe, when I talk to the people in like Terrace Park and others, they've really liked it. Like I talked to the finance committee chair in Terrace Park, Jeff LeMay, and he said he finds the reports very helpful that he gets out of UAN to help him with this stuff. So
I think that if we used the budgeting module on CMI, we could probably get some of the forecasting and predicting that we are looking for without doing the Excel stuff. But since we don't use that feature, if we don't use that feature in UAN, it's not going to help us either.
But so those examples you sent though yesterday, you forwarded to me, Eli, there is some stuff in there, Joe, that does things like percent of budget spent and all that kind of stuff. And so how far into the year are you year to date? And it looks at things like encumbrances too. So it doesn't look at it looks at both year to date spending, but it also looks what costs have been encumbered that are still to come type of thing. And then it gives you a year to date percent of budget spent, because it's got the budget number out to the left, year to date spent, encumbered, blah, blah, blah. And then it says, here's the percent that you spent of the budget year to date.
But it needed somebody to put those budgetary numbers in.
Right. Agreed.
So we could get that out of CMI, but we can't because we don't actually put those numbers in CMI, is what I'm saying. So I think it may well be apples to apples.
So again, the costs are significantly cheaper to be on UAN, and I put across the bottom line there, both systems then would, because right now CMI, you can't upload to PNC. So to do the direct deposit, that's something Eli did get a quote, and I think Eli was around $3,000 is what you found to create the capability in the CMI to be able to upload files to do direct deposit. If we went, once you do the upgrade, then that's included in there already. So they can both do direct deposit, and they can also use the laser printer. So reducing our reliance on that dot matrix printer that we have too.
So Rob, you mentioned something about they give a computer and a printer. So is there like a dedicated computer that they have to use for entering all this data in? Because
It's a SQL database, so it can run in client server mode, and that little computer they give us could just work as the server, quote unquote, but it can also be used as someone's desktop. It comes with a full install of Microsoft Office.
Okay. So we can have multiple people using it at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And the printer, is that just, the printer is just for, is it something unique about the printer or?
No, I think it's just a networked laser printer.
Okay.
And you have to buy laser printer compatible checks.
Okay. On the flip side of that first page, I also laid out some other things, that other benefits from UAN. Again, talking to the other municipalities, you can upload data directly to OPERS and OPF as well. I guess there's this Hinkle report. I don't, Tony, I don't know if you know about that. There's an end of year report that has to be
Yeah,
done.
I mean, I do that at the end of the year every year. It's kind of a pain in the butt. And I get letters in the mail from some firms that say, hey, we'll do your Hinkle report for you for $10,000 or something. Does that sound about right, Eli?
I have no idea.
Yeah. So, but anyway, but I've always done it. I haven't gotten I've never needed any help from the outside, but it would make it easier to use if it's already, set up like the state set up, then it would
Well,
make it
again, that's the beauty about this is the software is maintained by the Ohio State Auditor. So it creates a lot of the things that the state auditor requires to be filed at the end of the month. The software automatically can create those for you because it's created by them. They maintain it. So
yeah.
That's
so I think that's a plus. Yes.
And that's the third point as well, is the auditor is able to utilize the data directly. So it helps them it helps them be more efficient in terms of conducting audits as well. The fourth point there is, this also gives us a chance to sort of fix our account structure, getting our expenses and revenues better lined up. So more aligned with the state auditor guideline, because it appears that they actually create ranges then within account ranges. Because I saw something when I went to their website that they provided a specific range for CARES Act spending and revenue to use to capture that. So it helps to standardize a lot of that stuff across. Again, in order to make it easier for them to do the audits, they create standardization across all the municipalities in that sense. So, and then that in turn makes sure that we're doing it the way the auditors want it done.
But does it allow for some flexibility where if we had some unusual item come up, we could still create some account, I would think?
I'm sure, again, to be fair, I don't know the answer to that exactly, but I'm sure that they maintain ranges where the people can use within. And so I'm sure there's areas where there's like a miscellaneous range that you can use as well for stuff.
There are rules. Apparently, there are even rules about account numbers and the structure of account numbers, which I was unaware of. So if we, for some reason in CMI, because we don't know any better, we're doing something that wasn't compliant as far as the state of Ohio auditor goes, and we probably wouldn't know that it wasn't compliant, whatever that workflow is, we would not be able to do that in UAN. So, I think it is possible that UAN wouldn't just let us willy-nilly go in there and create some random account number in the way that CMI lets me do whatever we want. I assume that just like with this CARES Act thing, they probably sent out an update to all of their users that had these additional account codes and directed them how to use it. So you are more restricted than you are with accounting software that you own that's, not built for purpose.
But that's not necessarily a bad thing.
No, the only anecdotal thing I read was a municipality was needed to change amounts on their purchase order, and that's not something you're allowed to do. And so they found that they couldn't use UAN because they really needed to do that as part of their workflow, despite the fact that it's illegal as far as the auditor goes. And so they wouldn't onboard UAN because it didn't allow them to do that one thing. That one thing is non-compliant, so UAN is not going to support that workflow. It's possible we'll stumble over things that we're doing that we can't do in UAN, but the answer is because we shouldn't have been doing them in the first place.
But that they allow you to do a now and then. The state allows you to do a now and then.
But isn't a now and then separate?
No.
I don't know the answer because I don't know what a now and then is.
I thought the now and then was just when you get the invoice. So when you don't have the purchase order ready and then you get the invoice, you have to do a now and then. That's different. But I add money, like for the yearly purchase orders, I add money to those all the time.
And we always have, and The auditors have never had a problem with that.
Then it may well be a certain type of purchase order in which that is allowed. And I don't know the answer again. And that was anecdotal from a newspaper article. And those are the kinds of things that if they are non-compliant, UAN's going to stand in our way. And we need to look at this, like the training video about how to change a purchase order or something like that, to know ahead of time. Although they said we could take all of the training and then just not migrate if we so chose.
Allison, Joni, do we do a lot of blanket purchase orders?
We do, yeah. Yes.
Okay, I wonder how it handles those. But we can't
So
really.
again, the one thing,
It allows a blanket purchase order.
Say
So,
again, I'm sorry.
I said the state allows a blanket purchase order.
so again, I think the point that Eli is making, that I think is a very valid point, is they're going to allow us to do things that are actually allowed by law. So I view it as a positive, actually. And the other thing I've read in talking to the other municipalities, the people at UAN are very helpful too. They're very customer focused. So like when I talked to the guy on the phone, he said, "Oh, we don't do any new client training from January 1st to the middle of February because we are focused solely on helping our current customers roll over their numbers to the new fiscal year, rolling over from December 31st to January to help everyone get the new year started up." So they literally block out that time to help all current customers. And again, they provide, I went online, they have videos galore in terms of training. When you start up on the system, they can provide individualized training. Eli, do you want to explain? You talked to this guy yesterday and you said some things about how they're actually willing to send people here if we need to have the training done, if we wanted to do it that way.
They
Eli?
have a program called Visiting Clerks, and these, I guess the Center for Local Government or Local Government Services through the Ohio State Auditor has what's called visiting clerks. And these are basically people with whom you can contract. They're mostly CPAs who are familiar with municipal accounting and the auditor rules. And they'll come in, and if you have a bunch of egregious violations, they will clean you up and get your accounting system set up and help you on the right path. They have the same thing for UAN. So they have these people that are called visiting clerks that will come to your location and train you on your time frame, or perhaps now provide virtual training on your time frame, so that you don't have to wait until the class in Columbus rolls around twice a year. And you have sort of a dedicated resource that you pay to handhold you, help you set everything up, and onboard you on the new system. And again, you're paying a private contractor for something that you could get in a group for free. But I think that extra kind of handholding, if we find a visiting clerk with whom we had a good rapport, might be worth the cost. But we need to look into how much it costs.
And I think from my conversations with the guy at the help desk, it's more than just 2 times a year now too that they're doing this stuff because it's more virtual. So
I thought so too, but then he said no, December, and then he thinks April. I think it's all up in the air.
yeah, I'm trying to read my notes here because
Hey,
there
Rob,
was in December there were some classes.
Rob, let me ask this. Do they have a local office at all? I mean, when you say you were talking with these people, do you mean like in Columbus, or where are these people?
Well,
UAN people.
the help desk was based out of Columbus, but the help that Eli was talking about, there's somebody in Dayton. Is that right, Eli?
There's a visiting clerk in Dayton. There are these local government services visiting clerks who are like heavier hitters than the UAN visiting clerks. And there should be some of those in Hamilton County. They would be more expensive. And yeah, the help desk is in Columbus, but all of the municipalities around us use this product. So, probably help is right down the street.
Right, yeah.
No, I just looked it up, Eli. They've actually got an office in Blue Ash too, a regional office. UAN does.
Bless you.
Bless you.
Thank you.
That's crazy. I haven't seen that. Where'd you find that, Joe?
It's I just called up the UAN network on the Auditor of State webpage, and they've got a regional location in Blue Ash that handles Hamilton County. So it handles the counties in the southwest part of the state. So
Yeah, I think we
And
got
there-
plenty of resources to help us out around here.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
Fairfax, Newtown, Terrace Park, you know.
Yep. And again, they've all those municipalities have also had very positive things to say about the support that UAN is provided to them. So not only you can talk to local people who are using it currently, and then again, the support structure, even, you know, they found it very helpful, the other municipalities.
Mhm.
So I would assume the downside is that Joni and Allison, you're going to have to figure out how to use a new system, which is, you know, obviously never the easiest thing to do, trying to adapt our process. I mean, any sense of how difficult that might be? I mean, yeah, I don't think, I've been through numerous software changes in the corporate world, and none of them go smooth. I would just tell you that. I mean, they're always a problem.
Yeah, that's where you, well,
So,
of course you have to, and again, maybe Eli would be the better one to know, will CMI marry, with UAN to, gather all the information, put it all in 1 year?
No, we have to take our fund balances and just alley-oop them in by fund. And then historical data will still need to get out of CMI, which is why we have to leave it running for 3 years. But
Okay,
the
so-
vendors will be able to import.
Okay, so payroll, then will I have to run year end in both systems and get a W-2 from CMI and then a W-2 from UAN?
No, because the big transaction that pretend we moved over to UAN in June, you would move all of those things in as a gross transaction for each of those people. So they would have all of that data when you start.
Prior data?
So just one W-2. To go back to Joni's question, there's just one W-2 and it comes out.
Right. I mean, yeah, it would just be one W-2, but entering their start point in, you would, put into UAN how much they had done up to that point as just one big transaction.
Right, right.
can we do this? Can we find somebody who's recently migrated to UAN and just find out, what their experience was during that process? And so maybe we can avoid some of the horror stories.
Yeah, we can totally ask them.
Yeah, and they'll probably know somebody who's recently migrated. A lot of times I've seen where you'll run parallel for a while just to make sure both systems are operating properly. Making a clean cut, sometimes is painful because, you're trying to run the new system and you can't get the new system to do what you want to do, and you somehow get, bogged down in your processes. But, and I'm not real wild about changing mid-year.
No, you have to be calendar.
No, I'm sorry. Well, let me lay out something else. First is we're being audited next year. It's our normal audit year. And so, we shouldn't touch any of it this year because we need to finish this year with that. We should finish the audit through that. So, what Eli and I talked about was a potential route to go, because you have to do the accounting system first. You have to be up on the accounting system. This is UAN's requirement. You have to be up on the accounting system for, anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks before you can start up on the payroll system. So the timeline that we were thinking about would be in June, go through the training and for the accounting system in June of 2021, go through the training, start to migrate some of the information over, cut over on July 1st, which is a quarter end. So you have a clean quarter end on that, and then run it for 2 months. So July, August, if everything's going smoothly, September would be the opportunity then would be the payroll, going through that process of going through the training, transferring the data over and everything else, and then start up on October 1st, which is again a quarter end. So you got a clean cut. So again, you can't do a full conversion of both pieces all at one time. You're going to have to split them by 2 months.
You're allowed to do it if you do a training waiver by hiring a visiting clerk to train you up.
To do all of it at one time?
Yes. If you can get your staff up to speed and you've got a visiting clerk to hold your hand, they will let you do it all at once. but it is not it is the hardest way to do it.
Wow.
Mhm.
And we could also tandem up payroll for the last quarter and fully cut over starting 2022.
So that was the timeline that Eli and I were thinking about. Again, being sensitive, at the end of the year, Joni has to do the W-2s, everything else. And then we have the auditors coming in April, May, get that done, and then focus on getting starting the cutover process. We've been talking about this for years.
No,
Literally like 4
I know.
years.
My recommendation is let's just sketch out a high level migration plan so we know what we're dealing with. Because
Yep.
when I've seen mid-year conversions like this, getting the data from the system you're using in the first 6 months of the year over to the system that, your new system, you run into a lot of problems, whether it's, trying to get W-2s out at the end of the year, trying to get 1099s out, all that stuff. When you have two systems, in essence, running during the year, somebody's got to be able to tell us, how is this going to happen? Because I've seen a lot of problems when trying to switch mid fiscal or mid fiscal period on accounting systems. I don't know, Tony, if you've seen this at all with some of your clients.
Yeah, I agree with you, Joe. It is a pretty big hassle. So
What does it look like then if
do
we
the
switch
payroll
at the end of the year?
Well, basically it's a clean cut. You're starting all your books all over again. So you don't have to worry about,
But you still but you have to roll over. So again, this is not you got to roll over because this is a cash-based accounting system. It's not GAAP. We're not GAAP accounting. So
but
you got to roll stuff over.
the W-2s and the 1099s
Yeah,
and
I
all
get
that
it for
is
payroll.
based upon your fiscal period.
Right.
And if it's 12 months ending, you're pulling, and again, maybe they've got a tool where you migrate the totals over at that point by vendor, by employee. And again, just ask them. They've probably been through this, and as long as they got a decent migration plan, I'm comfortable with it. But I'm just saying that you run into problems when you try to go mid-fiscal period on a conversion of accounting systems.
So I hear you, Joe. So either Eli or I will be happy to ask UAN who recently has migrated and also anybody recently who's done it mid-year.
Right.
To find out from them how.
Is everybody on calendar year at the governments in Ohio, or can they pick their own
If you
fiscal year?
use UAN, you have to be on calendar year, but some people are not on calendar year and do not use UAN.
Okay.
But you have to be if you're on it, right?
Yep.
Period, paragraph.
Yep.
Again, that's how I think, they drive that standardization, which helps them keep their costs.
Yeah, makes sense.
So, Joni, did you have something? I thought.
While you're asking questions, can you get a cost on what it would be to have one-on-one training?
Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to call a visiting clerk for that.
I would feel much better having somebody than going and sitting in a big room.
Yes, I totally agree. And then you have like one single person you can call and ask questions of who knows how ours is. The only thing that I think, Rob, now that we put all these words in a row about moving mid-year is this issue of UAN only supporting a single bank account and having to close that payroll pass-through bank account and do all of the payroll out of the main account. That's an argument for doing it at the end of the calendar year.
How so? How is it?
Because then you're not, if we're going to close that account, we would want to be like done with it. Have everything moved out, have no outstanding balances, have no outstanding checks, like not roll that whole thing over.
Right. So, but again, you can, if you have any outstanding checks, you wait till they clear. And then once they've all cleared, then you can close the account.
Right. But I wouldn't want to have to track it.
Well, again, to your point, if it happens at a calendar year end and you issue checks in December, you're still doing the same thing.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
It doesn't matter.
Hey, Joni, one thing I was going to mention, if the cost differences are this much between these two systems, we can pay for a lot of training, one-on-one. I mean, we can bring a whole army of people in for this process and still be way ahead of the game. So.
You know, I mean, the way I look at it, this is the tools that we use every day, you know, and we really don't spend any other money. So, you know, I'd like to at least have the training that we feel more comfortable with.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's their day-to-day stuff. I certainly appreciate why Joni and Allison would want that. I get that.
And I would really like to try to figure out how we can do more robust budgeting, report formats and all the rest of the stuff, because I think, we don't do enough of that right now. It's hard to figure out where we stand at any point in time on our spending and our budgets and all the rest of the stuff. And so if this system can do some of this stuff, I think there's great benefits from that, because I'm a big believer and everybody should know their numbers. And I think we have a little bit of a problem trying to communicate our numbers out of the current system.
I don't disagree with that.
I agree. I don't have any insight though into the reporting capabilities of the UAN system.
Well, and so this is where we could reach out to Fairfax or whatever, because they are using it for all the stuff, including the payroll, whereas, Terrace Park is not. So, but and Fairfax is closer too. So again, this Rob, I don't know how to say his last name, Dopes, I don't know. Anyway,
Sure. Just
he
pick.
offered he'd be happy to go and help with any kind of stuff like that. So Joe, to your point, I've written down here more info, spending versus budget. And I'll be happy to reach out to Fairfax and see if they have any of that kind of information they'd be happy to share with us, Because I did get reports I did see some reports when I was doing some benchmarking just in costs from them, and they sent me some reports, and it looked like it was pretty easy to follow, but it was an annual thing. It wasn't the monthly thing that you and I have been looking at. So
Okay.
I'll ask them, see if they have any examples of that. Any other questions or items things that we want to follow up on?
I say we just get some of those questions answered and
Come up with more.
yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, and then just I want to play it back to make sure. So in reaching out to UAN, give us a list, give us some contacts of people who have recently migrated to UAN, and particularly anyone who did it partway through the year. Get the cost for the one-on-one training, and then maybe contact Fairfax or Columbia Township about info on the reporting capabilities for budgeting and spending versus budget and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, and then may I ask, going back, if it looks like we're going forward with UAN, would you then just start the direct deposit at that time? To me, it doesn't seem to make sense to pay CMI to do it for 6-8 months.
Yeah, we would wait, right, Rob?
Well, wait, I couldn't hear quite what you said, Joni. Could you?
I know. I just said we would wait then until, if we're going to go with UAN to start direct deposit, we wouldn't pay CMI in the
Right.
interim, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Agreed. Yes, agreed.
Agreed.
So yeah, the decision about direct deposit is after all this other stuff.
Okay, all right. Okay,
Joni and Allison, I just looked up in the manual. They do super blanket purchase orders, and now and thens. So
yes, okay. I was sure that they did.
whatever is legal, they'll do. One of the things that I thought was cool is once you have all of your data in UAN and all of your accounts are set up, there's this sandbox mode, which is basically you can go into this other feature where you can put in your transaction that you're not quite sure about, and you can try all of your transactions without impacting your real data. So it's like a play space for learning how to use it.
I'm pretty confident that our accounting, the way it's set up, is satisfactory to the state. We've never had any issue. And actually, when I spoke to the auditor last time, he said that, CMI and UAN were probably equal as far as their usage for doing an audit. So I think if we had any problems with the way we were setting our accounts up, we would have known by now.
Yes, that makes sense.
Okay, all right. I gotta get going.
I gotta
Yep.
go. Thank you.
All right.
Okay,
Okay, so I've captured those as the follow-up steps. Anything else that we have as follow-up that, you know, for Eli or I to go get data on and bring back to this group?
Uh,
We're not going to be able to anticipate every problem with this process because there will be problems in migration. It just happens every time. But I don't think we have a choice based upon the cost numbers that have been presented, but to make the switch at this point.
Yeah,
Now, is there some other software out there we should consider? I don't think so, because when I was looking at the website for UAN, they got 90% of the townships, 70% of the villages. I mean, it seems like it's a pretty accepted piece of software. And
Oh, yeah.
so what are we going to do? Hire somebody to write our own? That's
No.
not going to happen.
no,
Not for $5,000 a year.
Oh,
Right.
don't even say that.
Yeah,
Rob, when you ask about migration, see if anybody migrated from CMI, of course, and
okay,
what problems they might have had. If anybody's even has done it from CMI.
okay, I will add that to the list of questions.
Right.
All right.
So we don't have to take a vote at this point. You're going to come back
No.
with more information and
Yep, then we'll make a
Okay.
decision then. So,
very good.
okay, thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining. Appreciate it. Have a
All
good
right.
weekend.
You
See you
guys,
guys.
Bye.
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 see ya.